what exactly does this mean? They're still going to come out with a car in 2026, but it won't be a self-driving vehicle?
So Apple is aiming to indeed launch their first electric car as early as 2026. And this is a bit of a change. Previous target within the company was 2025, so a slight delay there. But the big fundamental change, as you alluded to, is they're no longer targeting a full level 5 self-driving system for the first version of the car. Their initial plan was to reinvent the way a car works, just like they reinvented touchscreens and they reinvented smartwatches. And that meant a car without a steering wheel, without pedals. The driver sort of faces the passengers like a limousine in terms of that type of interior. Now they're looking at something a bit more traditional. So they're looking at a more traditional car, electric obviously, with a steering wheel and pedals like you get with a Tesla, with full self-driving capabilities, but initially only for highways and freeways. So less complex zones like city streets, mountain ranges, and during bad weather.
If you're a fan of Apple iPhones and their seamless ecosystem, you wouldn't be much different from myself, and there's millions of us who appreciate the products they put out with consistent quality, and even lately, really doing everything they can to keep prices unchanged on entry-level devices in spite of this inflationary environment. But when it comes to innovation, there has been some doubters that Apple can put out revolutionary products that aren't improved versions of their competitors' offerings. The Apple Vision Pro comes to mind and looks to be incredible, but the idea of a head-mounted immersive computing device isn't a new one in the slightest. Sure, they may execute better and take advantage of an industry that isn't completely saturated, but when you think of cars, what do you think Apple can contribute to the sector? Or better yet, why would they be interested in making a car in the first place? As part of Tesla's faithful, the words auto gross margin has been drilled into our brains by Wall Street analysts for years. Our shares have taken hit after hit as the earnings of Tesla have been revised down due to price cuts and production targets not being met. So as shareholders know, Tesla's auto gross margin is threatening to drop under 17%, and our operating margin floats in the mid-teens. Strictly looking at these numbers from the perspective that Tesla is just a car company, the numbers are fine and reasonably respectable, as it's comparable to the likes of Mercedes-Benz and quadruple that of Ford. So pretend you're Tim Cook in 2023. You're looking at the financials of all these automotive companies, and you probably tell yourself, there's no money in this industry. And no offense to my Tesla brethren, but continue pretending you're Tim Cook and look at an iPhone and think about the profit margin on that one product. It's something like 50%. Now snap back to reality and go to your garage and look at your Tesla and know the auto gross margin on that car is like 18% as of last quarter. 18% versus 50%. Why does Apple even want in on this party? It's because times have changed since Apple started its foray into the automotive world, spinning up the most widely known secret, Project Titan. It was 2015 when rumors started circulating of Apple hiring hundreds of people to start development of their autonomous electric car. Elon wasn't surprised about the revelation and was asked in a BBC interview about the rumor.
But I think companies like Apple will probably make a compelling electric car. It seems like the obvious thing to do.
Are you betting that that's going to happen? Have you heard anything?
Well, it's pretty hard to hide something if you hire over 1,000 engineers to do it.
So you think Apple are serious about it?
Yeah, I do. This is an open secret.
But that was 2016, where Tesla was selling the Model S at high profits, with analysts predicting 30% margins for it. 30% is decent, and it might not be iPhone level of margin, but it was very interesting to Tim Cook at the time. Here's Tim in his own words.
I think there is a major disruption looming there. Is we're focusing on autonomous systems. And clearly one purpose of autonomous systems is self-driving cars. There are others. And we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. It's probably one of the most difficult AI projects actually to work on. And so autonomy is something that's incredibly exciting for us. And but we'll see where it takes us. We're not really saying from a product point of view what we will do. But we are being straightforward that it's a core technology that we view as very important.
Perhaps this is a function of the economic environment that we've been facing over the past 2 years, with new car loans approaching 8% from the low 2 years ago of just 3.8% on average. A double of rates in such a short period of time would dissuade most anyone from entering this highly regulated, low margin, high competition, large purchase price market. But can we really say it's just rates alone that has forever delayed the Apple car? The financial side of the equation isn't all that enticing, sure. But you can argue it's a very temporary thing, and when rates return to normal, perhaps the sector will be ripe for the picking. We know that Apple has delayed their stock trading service because the economy was struggling, so I wouldn't disagree delaying an Apple car might be best. But the other side of the equation is even more daunting than just not making enough money. It's the advent of artificial intelligence. If you're an Apple investor, you're praying to literally every god you can think of for Tim Cook to say the word AI combined with Siri, or something along those lines. With bated breath due to developers conferences, the Vision Pro release, the recent earnings reports, and the iPhone reveal earlier this month, we waited. Unfortunately, nothing came to pass. Apple has always been given a wide berth when it came to not being cutting edge, because people would say that whenever it does come out with a new product, it will be better or more accessible than anything the market has to offer. It's not like Apple doesn't understand the importance of AI, because 3 years ago, the lead executive at Apple that was in charge of machine learning and artificial intelligence moved over to Project Titan. And we all know that AI has played an integral role in the evolution of Tesla's full self-driving. But even with the foresight of Elon Musk, that effort only began in earnest last December, when the FSD team switched to an end-to-end approach. So did Apple throw away a 3-year lead in AI research only to be beaten by upstarts and of course Tesla? But maybe their autonomous AI models are secretly superior or even equals to that is currently being developed. If so, it begs the question, why hasn't the obvious been done yet? Why can't you press the action button on your iPhone or the crown on your Apple Watch and have Siri powered by a large language model be at your beck and call? Why is it that Meta, Google, and Microsoft have already spun up consumer-facing products backed by their own large language models just months after the release of OpenAI's ChatGPT, which happened on November 30th, 2022? So imagine you're Tim Cook again, and you're looking at the research and development budget of Apple. It's about $20 billion a year, with at least $2 billion being devoted to the Vision Pro over the last couple of years. So what is the rest of the money being used for? Is any of it for AI? The most ambitious startups are only wanting a couple hundreds of millions to buy a truckload of NVIDIA H100s. With $20 billion, you can buy tons of compute. And we know Tesla is building 3 supercomputers, data centers, and hiring as many AI engineers for developing Optimus and FSD with fractions of the revenue of Apple. Do you think hundreds of billions of dollars over the past 8 years has been devoted to compute over at Apple? But let's say they are trailblazing a lead in AI, and especially AI-powered autonomous driving. What do you think an end-to-end neural net self-driving car would look like? Let's take a gander. Maybe that wasn't what you were expecting for 8 years of development, and at least 3 of those years being under the watchful eye of Apple's machine learning leader. Tesla's FSD users are automatically spotting some issues here. If Tesla can use artificial intelligence and a handful of cameras to navigate this very dynamic world with a budget that looks like literal peanuts compared to the riches of Apple, but yet, this is Project Titan? The test mule seems to be equipped with a sensor suite akin to a Waymo or Cruise. Apple's a huge fan of LiDAR, with it appearing in some of their Pro products, so you better believe this car of theirs will have it equipped because in 2019, they purchased a startup company specializing in self-driving cars called Drive AI, who utilized LiDAR in combination with cameras and radar to pilot autonomous taxis. A Lexus testbed was spotted some years ago with 12 LiDARs mounted to the roof. And as for the current test car, no, that isn't a mattress on top of the roof. I'm sure it's just a housing to hide probably 50 more LiDAR sensors. But in all seriousness, you'll see multiple cameras per side, LiDAR per side, radar all over. And due to the purchase of Drive AI, Apple might have added 3D mapping to the repertoire because one of the specialties of that company was on-the-fly creation of maps. Though, Apple did try to simplify their system recently by attempting a test drive without the mapping, only to find themselves in an embarrassing situation reported in the information. Wayne Ma said, when the employees tried to drive back to base, in quote, Apple's test vehicles struggled to navigate the streets near its Silicon Valley headquarters without the maps, smacking into curbs and sometimes having trouble staying in their lanes while crossing intersections. And Wayne added, a test vehicle nearly hit a jogger who was crossing the street and had right of way. So maybe they do have AI, or maybe they don't. But what does the market think of the lack of evidence AI is involved in any of their customer-facing products and services? You know what the market thinks? They smell blood in the water. It wasn't but this week when OpenAI announced an initiative with Johnny Ive to create an AI-powered device. I'm not taking any sides here, but should Apple be worried? Have you heard of the name Johnny Ive before? Because I'm sure that Apple faithful has, because he designed the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and the Apple headquarters itself, Apple Park. All of this as the chief designer for Apple. So now with Sam Altman teaming up with his generational design talent, is the iPhone the main target? Because there's no device with seamless integration of AI ready for public consumption. And with OpenAI's release of ChatGPT's multimodal capabilities, it seems the rest of the industry is playing catch up in the field of AI for consumers. Let's go back to pretending we're Tim Cook. the CEO of Apple. And for fun, you pull up Tesla's Q2 earnings report and you see gross margins have decreased almost 7% year over year. And then you put down the report and look at the news article from The Verge, with your former designer working with the inaugural lead in AI in an effort to create a new device to interact with AI. What do? Do you build a car?